What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades. And today, guys, we've got another episode of Guts and Glory, where we take a moment to look at the inside of what makes these knives tick. For our subject today, we have got the new Will Shaula folder, flipper folder, and this is something new from Will. It's a new model, and there is a new pivot system in this knife. Now, all of the Will flipper folders that I've had come through my channel have all been phosphor bronze bushinged flipper folders. And this is a bearing pivot folder, new for Will and very new for Baz on Blades here. And it's a pretty doggone decent knife, guys. You've already seen the review of it, the in-depth review, so you know the ins and outs of it. And now we're going to take a look at the ends of it, the insides of it. So let's grab our precision driver here. I think this knife is going to come completely apart from the show side. T8 for the pivot here, guys. We'll get that out. Change our bit over here to the T6, and we're going to come down here. We got two body screws. This is built on anodized aluminum standoffs, guys. In the blue G10 model, you get the green standoffs, and you know, it's not a bad look to it, guys. It's not a bad look at all. I don't feel like I'm burnt out on green standoffs. I hardly ever see them. Usually if you see colored standoffs, they're blue or red. So we had a T8 for the pivot there, guys, and T6 for the two body screws. And this pocket clip here is reversible, and you're going to move this body screw from side to side is one of the screws for the pocket clip, and you can see it goes through this standoff right here, guys. Now this smaller standoff is nothing but a captured pin, I believe, for lanyard attachment. So that's sort of neat. All right, we've got those screws out. Let's take a look at the inside of this knife, guys. The first thing I'm going to see here is skeletonized stainless liner. That is very well done. And yeah, oh, look at how that's a cute little captured pin. Okay, that's a cute little captured pin, isn't it? How often do you see something like that in a knife? That's cute. Alright, so we'll set that aside. Bearings, guys. Looks like ceramic bearings. They are black. They are in a polymer, a solid polymer race there. They are very free, guys. And they feel like they are greased from the factory. Not oil, but grease. And I don't feel a lot of dirt either, guys. So let's get in here. Let's get this blade. And yeah, look around the blade there. That's grease, guys. That is not oil. So if you get one of these and it feels a little sluggish, you may want to open it up and clean that out and just put some oil in it. D-shaped pivot, non-freewheeling pivot. It is captured, guys, so that is good. That takes away the pain in the booty that the free spinning two-sided pivots. Yeah, grease on the bearings. Not too much, not too little. They actually did a good job on this. It's not dirty on the inside or anything. Oh, excuse me, guys. Allergies. Look at that grease again, guys. You don't see a lot of old, dark, dirty, dusty crud in it. But I think that I am going to bypass the grease altogether, guys. And I'm just going to go with some break-free Precision LP oil, which is just a 10-weight synthetic nano oil, basically, guys. We're going to clean all this stuff out here. And let's get down in that detent hole real good and clean it out. That looks clean. That's a big old detent hole, too. Look at that, guys. That is a big old detent hole. Alright, we'll get this side of the frame. We're going to clean in here. You know, all of this stuff looks to be fairly well done, guys. Let's take a look at a cross section. Okay, you can see this is a stamped frame. It is not water jet cut or anything like that. It is most definitely stamped, guys. And there's nothing wrong with that. These are very clean stampings. I do have 10 years of experience in steel stamping, guys. Trust me, these are very clean stampings. The stampings I was dealing with were automotive internal parts on transmissions. So I know a clean stamped part when I see it. And this is a very clean, very well done part, finished out in a bead blast finish, it looks like afterwards. It looks very good to me. Get that back on there. Then we're going to go to the other side here. Okay, there is our stop pin. I'm going to come back in here, guys, and clean this grease out of here on this side. Yeah, I'm thinking that's a ceramic detent also, guys, because it is black as night. Yeah, I think it is. I'm going to come down here and wipe off these fancy standoffs here, these anodized aluminum standoffs, guys. Look at that. That's not bad, guys. It's not a bad green. They did a good job on that. I'm down with that. Bazon Blades is down with that green. Alright, so let's get our bearings here. We're going to clean them very quickly. And I know this cleaning stuff is not that impressive, guys. It's not exciting, and it doesn't really do anything for me either. But it does give you a good example of how to do this, guys. Just very simple maintenance on a knife. If you're curious about what's going on the inside of your knives, and there are very few folding knives that are so complicated that you can't just take it apart and put it back together. Now, they are held together with very small hardware, guys. Even the biggest knife hardware is not that big as far as hardware goes. So keep that in mind. And again, all we're doing right now, look at that, guys. That has got a rubber O-ring on it. Very soft, white, clearish O-ring. Huh. Very interesting, guys. Very interesting indeed that it has that. Huh. The face side does not, of course, but the female side does. I'm sorry, guys. We just got a lot of stuff laying out here. We're going to have a problem with the focus here. All right, but what do you guys think? This is pretty clean looking for what I would consider to be an early bearing effort from Steel Wheel. Because they are very well known, guys, for doing phosphor bronze bushinged flippers. I mean, that's been their thing for a while, pretty much exclusively, because everybody, all the high quality Chinese manufactured knives had all gone to bearings, and I think that Steel Wheel just wanted to show as a company that they could do a good flipper without having to rely on bearings. They did it on phosphor bronze bushings, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys, my example of the Plague Doctor, my full-size Plague Doctor, is one of the finest and strongest flippers that you will ever come across, and that's compared to bearing flippers too. And I've owned bearing flippers that were $400 or $500. I've owned custom-made knives with bearing pivots that didn't flip any better than that knife that was like, it's like a $60 or $70 knife, not even on bearings. All right, so I put a couple of drops of oil around the bearings on that side. You don't have to oil both sides of your bearings, guys. They're not oil proof. The oil is going to flow all over that bearing. It just takes maybe 3 drops on one side set of bearings, 3 drops on the other. You don't have to get all crazy with the oil. If you get too much oil in, what you're going to have is oil leaking out. You're going to have oil attracting. The wetness of the oil will retain dust in your pivot. There is a fine balance between too wet and not wet enough, guys. And we're going to do about 3 drops of oil on that side. And let's see, stop pin, all 3 of the pins back here, got hardware out here. Everything is wiped off. And now let's see how this puppy goes back together. Contact point 1, 2, and 3. Everything lined up. It's going to press together very easy. The only resistance right now is the liner lock, guys. The pressure of the liner lock. So let's get this pivot started here, guys. And you know, you feel free to start or drop down to the comment section, and you know, I'll be letting Steel Will know about this video, and let them know what you think about them going to bearings on their pivots, because it has been, you know, it has been sort of their thing, guys, the phosphor bronze, since they've hit the market. And that's a big change. It doesn't seem like a big change, but you know, not only is it a change in parts, there is some change in engineering and design, of course some change in machining, but it is, for this company, it's a change in mindset, I believe, guys. And I'm gonna check these pocket clip screws and make sure they are snug down, because I haven't done anything with this knife really. And let's go back here to the T8, come back up here and retension our pivot. Oh, wrong side, guys, my bad. When you're looking through the camera, it doesn't always look right. Alrighty then. Now my example came out of the box not perfectly centered, guys. It's not crazy off or anything, but it is not perfectly centered. It's off maybe the thickness of the tip of the blade, so that's where you see it at mostly. And that went back together exactly how it came apart, and you know, pretty smooth, guys, pretty smooth. I mean, there's not a lot of difference there. So it's a very repeatable knife. And you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to put a drop of oil on the detent, guys. Forgot to put a drop of oil on the detent. Now I got to fish around on the inside of here and put a drop of oil on it without putting too much. I actually prefer to oil that detent before reassembling. Okay, there we go. Yeah, instantly that takes out the friction of that detent on the detent track, guys. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move some of these tools out of the way here, and we'll get rid of the wanky focusing issues and get rid of all of this. Put that cat back on there, and we'll just bring this knife up here. And what about this fancy background, guys? Yeah, that's like a 20-year-old towel. But when you are taking knives apart, there is going to be oil, there can be grease, there can be dirt, guys. I've actually taken apart new knives that were pretty doggone dirty, dirty enough to stain something. So there you go, guys. That was the inside of the Shaula knife, the flipper folder from Steel Will. embarking in a new direction in their product line with the ball bearing pivots. And I like ball bearing pivots, guys. People say that bushing knives are stronger. You know, the bushings are stronger and more supportive. But it's still just a folding knife. And you know what Bazon Blades says about folding knives? You give me any folding knife, I can break it almost instantly. The reason is, Bazon Blades is one of the strongest men to ever live. No, that's not the reason at all, because Bazon Blades is not one of the strongest men to ever live. The reason is, it's multiple parts held together with extremely small hardware with limited available clamping force, limited clamping surface. Your strength of that pivot is in the surface area that it clamps and the amount of clamping force, guys. And you just cannot generate that much strength out of hardware that small. Beyond that, everything is hype. It doesn't matter if it's your zero tolerance knife, your Medford knife, your Strider knife. I've owned Strider knives, Medford knives, custom knives. Guys, I've owned what are supposedly some of the strongest folding knives ever made. And I guarantee you, I could break every one of them with my bare hands almost instantly. You take that knife like this down against a flat surface and you apply force to it and you will break it at this pivot. All right, that's just a fact of life. So I don't think that there's a big difference between bearing knives and bushing knives as far as strength goes. Bearings are smoother. They are easier to set up. Bushing knives are a little more finicky about tolerances, guys. They just are. It doesn't make it good or bad or here or there or east or west or anything, guys. It's just the way those materials work. Yeah, this is pretty doggone decent, and I think it's going to be a great part in an upcoming giveaway that is going to have a massive first place prize that is going to include probably 4 different steel wheel knives, including this Shaula folder. And guys, I hope you enjoyed a look at the inside of this, a very short discussion of bearing knives from steel wheel, and of course a little mini micro rant from Bazon Blades about you know, quit calling folding knives heavy duty. Guys, I don't know about you. I don't know where you are in your experience level in the knife world. I don't know how you use your knives. I don't know any of that. But when I go to a YouTube reviewer and they start reviewing a little titanium frame lock folder on bearings, and they're like, this thing is a beast. It's a beefy little workhorse. It's super tough. Super tough. I just think to myself, man, these guys, they sound like they don't know anything about using knives, because there's no such thing as a super tough folder. I don't care if it's got bushings or bearings on it. You know, these knives are great for EDC. They're convenient. They are strong enough for normal use, guys, but come on, heavy duty and a folding knife. All right, rant over. Steel wheel Shaula, steel wheel going to bearings, love it or hate it. I am actually very much liking this from steel wheel. And guys, feel free to check out my review of this knife. I will try to put, remember to put a link down in the description section so you can drop back and check out the in-depth also. All right, guys, as always, thank you for taking the time to watch one of my videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.